نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Joseph was cast into the well. There was a caravan of traders passing by that route. And this well was a stop for these people to retrieve water en route to Egypt. They threw a bucket inside the well. Joseph saw the bucket and held on to the rope. When they tried to lift the bucket, they found it unusually heavy. So they asked a few people to gather around the rope and to pull it. When they pulled it up, they found a boy attached to it. They were amazed, and then they saw the boy, how handsome he was and well built. So they hid him within their possession in order to sell him as a slave within the marketplace. When Joseph was brought into Egypt, there was a lot of excitement at the slave that was being sold, who was so handsome and so blessed with beauty. They all desired to purchase him. Finally, the chief of the Minister of Finance purchased him. When he purchased him, he took him home and he said to his wife, "We may take him as a child of ours," since they had no children. Zuleika, the wife of Aziz, then made Joseph her personal assistant. He grew in that household. They were all impressed by his mannerism, his nobility, his innocence, his inner beauty. And as he grew into a young man, Allah endowed him with external physical beauty. Zuleika, it transpires, did not share much with Aziz, since Aziz was an old man and would not go near women. Was Zuleika, due to these reasons and maybe other reasons, was enchanted by Yusuf and fell obsessively in love with Yusuf. She made many advances to Yusuf, but Yusuf resisted. On an occasion, she locked him inside her room and made an advance to him. Here the Quran says that indeed she became desirous to him, and he too would have become inclined to her had he not seen the evidence or the demonstrations or the proofs of his God. What happened was, as we are told, that Zuleika placed a cloth over the idol. And Yusuf said, "Why do you do such a thing?" She said, "In order for him to be concealed from this act, so that I may not feel embarrassed." Yusuf immediately turned and he said, "But my God cannot be blinded. No veils can be placed upon his eyes. He sees everything." And this is why the Quran says, "And we showed him our signs, and in this way we keep away all that is reprehensible and all that is indecent from our chosen slave." Now here comes a question, that this is clearly pointing at Isma of Hazrat Yusuf, that he was faultless and infallible in the way that Allah has kept him. But does that mean that only the chosen ones of God are kept infallible without their own struggles? It clearly does not mean that. The Quran says, "We showed him our evidences." Joseph could have easily decided to ignore those evidences and been overpowered by the desires of his soul. But he instead became mindful and conscious of the fact that this was an indecent act and that he would not be disloyal to Aziz, nor would he commit himself to anything that was displeasing to God. Joseph made for the door. Zuleika ran after him. As she grabbed him, he struggled and the back of his shirt tore. When he opened the door, both of them found Aziz with his cousin standing at the door. Now Zuleika at this moment, she immediately in her self-defense, she said, "Look at what he has done. He tried to make an advance on me. And what shall you do to such a person save chastise him or imprison him? Yusuf said, she desired me, and I freed myself of her, and I have not been disloyal to you, O Aziz. Aziz's cousin said, if the shirt of Joseph is torn from the front, it means that he made the advancement. If it is torn from the back, it means that he was fleeing and she is the one who is guilty. Aziz saw this and he said to Yusuf, forgive Zulaykha. And he said to Zulaykha, this is your deception. Seek forgiveness for what you have done. Zulaykha's love for Yusuf became the talk of the town, as the Quran explains to us. And the women would exclaim, indeed, she has fallen for her slave. She invited them all, and the Quran narrates, and it's a famous story, that they were given fruits and knives, and nobody would talk about Joseph. And Zulaykha abruptly, she said, you are blaming me for being besotted with Joseph. At that point, they became comfortable to talk about Joseph. She at that point called Joseph. When he entered, she said, Joseph, look at me and raise your head. When they looked at Joseph, they exclaimed, this is not a human. This is but a divine angel. And they inadvertently cut through the fruits and cut their fingers. Zulaykha said, see how enchanted by his beauty you have cut your fingers, and this is what you blamed me for. If he does not do what I command him to do, indeed, he will be chastised or placed inside the prison. Here what we understand is that Joseph struggled and struggled greatly because Zulaykha appears to be a very charming and a very beautiful and a gifted woman. And this was the inevitable struggle of the Prophet that made him eligible for what Allah was giving him. And therefore the story of Isma is not one that Allah by force wards away indecency from His chosen ones, but Allah gives them the opportunity to reflect before they act. And this opportunity indeed is given to all of us. When we decide to do something that is wrong, and our souls are not accustomed to doing wrong, then always there is a subtle sign from God for us to reflect and to be warded off from that act that is reprehensible or indecent.